Time to get real, reality TV aficionados. Welcome to the Georgio Says podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Georgio Takanakis, and I'm here serving you the juiciest updates on all your favorite reality shows weekly, as well as the hottest pop culture trends, and even exclusive interviews that will leave you wanting more. This podcast will keep you on the edge of your seat. We definitely need to talk about this. The Georgio Says podcast starts now. All right, what's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Georgio Says podcast. Look, it's Wednesday. It really should be Friday, in my opinion. But this whole Bethany Frankel situation regarding the interview with Rachel and everything in between. I mean, every day there's something else that's linking back to Bethany, and more people are seemingly so angry with her. But we're going to get into a hot topic that involves Bethany, but also involves Tamra, and it somehow links to this whole reality reckoning. I'm also going to dive into my thoughts and opinions that some of you weren't really all too happy about, but that's okay. I'm going to stand on my opinion because I just see it that way, and I'm going to break that down a little bit more. And yeah, I'm excited. So let's dive right into hot topics. There's really only one, but there's an interesting twist here because later in the episode, I'm going to talk about, basically how this whole Rachel interview has turned into this whole entire, I don't even know what it is. It seems like it's just about Bethany and the takedown. It just feels very Pitchfork is what I'm going to say about that. And I think a lot of people are not looking at it from the lens that I feel at this point we should be looking at things when it comes to this space regarding reality TV, the people that are the public figures that we watch every single week and follow and talk about. I think it's like all of this is all coming together. It's all one big storm, and it's all brewing slowly but surely. But a lot of people are just mad at the face of the movement, which is obviously Bethany. But Bethany is Bethany. She does not care. And so much so that I did not catch the full episode. But so I want to shout out By Wig Hello Drama on Instagram because I'm going to play you some audio. They were amazing enough to splice, a bunch of clips together. So as I mentioned, I have not listened to the full episode, but it seems like Bethany did a podcast episode on Just Be where she kind of discusses an older episode of Real Housewives of Orange County. And there was a particular scene where Tamra is plotting to get Gretchen wasted, and they use the term naked wasted. And so I'm going to play you the clips because it's quite interesting what direction this all seems to be going. So let's go ahead and go with.
And Vicky and Tamra said they were going to get her naked wasted. They kept giving her drinks. And then in another room, Tamra's son, you heard forcing himself on her. And I didn't see a camera person go in and open up the door and be like, get off her. It goes as far as it can go, but someone might have psychological damage from that. I mean, Gretchen Rossi was at Tamra and was at I think Tamra's house, and Vicky and Tamra said they were going to get her naked wasted. They kept giving her drinks. And then in another room, Tamra's son, you heard forcing himself on her. And I didn't see a camera person go in and open up the door and be like, get off her. It goes as far as it can go, but someone might have psychological damage from that. I mean, Gretchen Rossi was at Tamra and.
Okay. So that was what Bethany was talking about on her podcast episode. And obviously we know that Tamra and Teddy had two T's in a pod. So obviously no shocker there. I figured Tamra would respond, and so she did. So we're going to listen to that. All right. So
they goes after my son, which is not naked wasted was a term that me, Vicky, used to use. It was no different
because you guys would get naked yourselves, right?
It was nothing to do with naked. It was like
then
saying,
right.
oh my God, if you don't do that, I'm going to kill you. No, you're not going to kill somebody. It's just a term, naked wasted. That means we're going to get drunk tonight.
Yeah.
That's it. Like tequila,
Yeah.
you know, you could say like, oh,
Yeah, like naked wasted.
At all. What it had to do with, and nobody forced alcohol down anybody's throat. Production didn't. I didn't. Vicky didn't. We saw a different Gretchen when cameras were off because she would get drunk and do and say things that she wouldn't do on camera.
Right.
So when she was drinking and the first time that the show really captured her drinking, she started talking to my son. Then she started saying to him, oh, you know, I'm hotter than your mom, right? You're up the scene. Hotter than your mom, right? Your mom knows that. And then even Gina Keogh said in the Housewife book, he asked Ryan, can you take Gretchen to the bathroom? Show her where the bathroom is. The mics were on, everything was heard. There was no forcefulness. There was the whole thing taken out of context. When I watch it myself, I'm like, fuck, that's what happened. That is not what happened. Now, if I sat down and told Bethany my story of what went down that night, she would have been advocating for me. Oh my God, the network did you dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, it just pisses me off to no degree.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't understand even the point of why she brought up that story, other than,
well, she's trying to
maybe it's jealousy that we were able to be number one without breaking a scandal.
Hotter than your mom.
Okay. So you got to listen there, both Bethany's talking points around that particular scene in that older episode, and then we got to listen to Tamra explain it from her angle. And the thing about this whole thing is that when Teddy says, why is she like bringing this, or like why did she bring that up in particular, what's the point? What I think Bethany's doing now is she's honing in on patterns, because it seems like, and the same legal team that sent the letters, the first two letters to Bravo and NBC Universal, have now sent a third one. So at this point, I wish they would just get to the point of what they're actually looking for or what they want out of this, rather than continuing to send letters that just seem so, it's entertaining to read them, don't get me wrong, because whoever's writing them is like, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, where is this going? What are we looking for here? What can we start to hone in on that? But back to Bethany, I think, when we look at why she would talk about this one scene or, whatever, regarding Gretchen being at Tamra's house and Tamra saying, I'm going to get her naked wasted. Here's what I'm going to say to that. So first things first, I do agree, I do believe Tamra when she says that the term naked wasted was not meant literally, like we're not going to get her wasted to the point of being naked to set the scene up, if you know what I'm saying. So that part I think is being it's being read into way too much, and it wasn't meant literal. So for that, that's fine. The other point to this is that when you look at it from the angle of which Bethany's speaking about this, is that, we look at where they discuss the heavy amounts of alcohol that's basically essentially quote unquote forced, but obviously, like, no one's really literally force feeding people bottles of alcohol. It's just there, and it's, how can I say this without being, so I think there's a combination of things going on here. I think, and I'm not saying this is right, but I'm if you put someone that has an issue with drinking on a reality show and supply the room and every event with alcohol, yeah, you're setting that person up to fail, right? But it's still up to them to make the choice. And that is cold and harsh. But to say that they basically force feed the alcohol, no, I just think a lot of times they have different personalities, and some people do drink. And we've seen a pattern of this throughout housewives. There's a lot of people that drink for different reasons, anxiety, depression, you name it. So yes, I see the point and why like this particular story could be brought up and then used for that angle, because it's like, well, yeah, when you watch the scene back from what they showed us, and that also needs to be brought into perspective, what they showed us versus what they actually have could make the whole thing look completely different. And that's where I think it gets a little dangerous. And so, yes, Tamara is going to be defensive because that paints her son in a very creepy, in a creepy way when you watch it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it like, and I went and watched the scene again, and it was a little cringy. But I don't think that if he had continued, I don't think production would have just not done anything. I don't think that. I just think that it landed in a way where she was really drunk. They were filming probably for a lot of time. And so it was getting like things got taken out of context in that regard, to be fair to Tamara. And I think also too, we have to look at the fact that, you know, everything that Bethany is laying out, it's hitting the points that they're trying to hit here with these letters that have gone out. But that can't, like, that doesn't make me mad. I just feel like that's just what is going on with the situation. She saw something, she's doing something. This is what she's always done. And you don't have to agree with every way and you know, choice and how she does it. But like I said in my TikToks earlier today, I strongly feel like the attention's being put more on like pitchforking Bethany over bringing this whole thing up in general, let alone doing the interview with Rachel, but just bringing this up. She got like the pitchforks were coming out of the woodworks. I didn't quite get that. You don't have to agree with the person that's delivering the message, but the message doesn't necessarily need to be thrown in the garbage. And a lot of people are saying, oh no, those things are important, but then yet they go back to reverting to pointing at Bethany and some episode where she did and said something to a cast member. So, you know, it doesn't matter to me who's doing it, but if it's going to ultimately change the way people are treated and everyone gets fair and equal pay and not taken advantage of, or they're given the resources they need, because I think when we start to talk about reality TV, the amount of time and effort that goes into that from all angles is a lot of people. And so there is a lot of jobs at stake. So I do see some people who don't want to bring the whole house down because of something that just comes with the territory, right? It's just like when a celebrity complains about not having privacy, and yet here we are, you're a celebrity. So what did you really expect? But then you have to come back around and have empathy at the same time. It's like, you could want a job really bad and someone could tell you these are the low points of having a job in this industry, right? But you want the experience in the job so bad that you're like, okay, I can swallow that. Then you get in there and you're seasoned, and yeah, you're annoyed by some of those low points that you didn't care about in the beginning because you really wanted the experience. Now, though, it's a different story. So it's the evolution of what you can take. And it's not, I think, not to misquote Camille Grammer, but I think she said, I can take it, but I won't stand for it, or something to that degree, where it was like, yeah, no, I used to be able to manage the low points, but not so much anymore. Same with why a lot of celebrities, a lot of them that don't really want to be in the like forefront of being photographed all the time or followed or whatever, or being in the headlines all the time, they remove themselves. And there's a way in which they can do that where they do retain privacy a lot more than the people that are, I mean, if we're honest, calling the paparazzi on themselves. Sorry, I went on a rant, but let me bring it right back. So this whole situation to me is just Bethany doing her research and just speaking on it. And yeah, this particular breakdown over that one scene with Gretchen and Tamara and Vicky, I mean, yeah, it doesn't look good. When you watch it, it is cringy. I'm not gonna lie. But I also know that there's a ton more footage and there's a lot more context, and things can easily be edited to look and paint someone in a certain way. We all know that. We've watched these shows for years. Some of us for more than a decade. Shout out to my OG Housewives fans from the very beginning. But yeah, no, I think honestly, I think this is going to continue to have, these conversations are going to continue to unravel. And I think Bethany is going to continue to spearhead them one way or the other. And I don't really think she cares how mad people really are. But I do see people saying, like, when, you know, they leave a comment and they like question her about something or they call her out on something, she blocks them. It's just like, well, you know, I think it's, for me, I don't care if she paid Rachel, and for all we know, maybe she did. Maybe they have a financial agreement. But why does she need to disclose that to us? Why does Bethany need to say, this is what I'm paying her? And what's funny about that, this is just my opinion, like, you know, I'm just saying, had she come out at the top of the interview with Rachel and said, just so everyone's aware, I will be splitting the ad revenue with Rachel, right? And she confirms it off the bat that she's paying her. I can guarantee you that people would have been like, oh, she just wants to showboat that she's coming in to save the day. It's like classic Bethany making it about herself. So that's how I feel it would have gone down had she had disclosed that information. If she was upfront, like everyone's saying, why aren't you being upfront about that? Why can't you just say whether you paid her or not? Well, what does it matter? So, and we're going to get into that more because I had some opinions, and then Stassi weighed in, and then I came back for some more. So we're going to take a little break, and then when we come back, I'm going to dive into the reality reckoning of it all. We'll be right back.
Elevate your style with ShopSecondWind.com, New York City's leading Latina-owned fashion brand, celebrated by J.Lo, Becky B, Ava Longoria, and AOC. As seen in Vogue, Elle, and more. And guess what? An unnamed housewife adores them too. Exclusive for our listeners, get 20% off this August until August 31st using my special code GeorgioSays20 at checkout. Head on over to ShopSecondWind.com and use my code GeorgioSays20 and get you something nice. Shop now. Guys, I wanted to take a few seconds to talk to you guys about Golly Nutrition. Their gummies have been something I have implemented into my daily routine for the last 5 years, and I am so pleased they are a podcast sponsor. Golly Nutrition is an inventive, people-focused nutrition company committed to providing innovative products that make taking your daily supplements simple and delicious. Their products are formulated with quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will enjoy. And at the core of it all, they lead with purpose. Golly for Good is an initiative committed to playing a profound role in supporting the health of our planet as well as our local communities. And if you go to golly.com and use my special code, The Georgio Says, at checkout, you will receive a special discount. That code again is The Georgio Says. Go to golly.com and check them out. Now let's get back into the episode.
All right, everyone, welcome back. And now let's get into this whole reality reckoning and where we're at the moment, because I had some opinions today. Well, not just today. I've been having it since Rachel did the interview with Bethany, just because I'm not seeing it in the same exact way that a lot of you are. And that's okay. That's the beauty of this community. And I love you guys because, you know, we have DM chats all the time, a lot of you and myself, about a lot of these things in the back end. And so it's fine. We're not going to agree on every single point, but that's why I love this, because, you know, it's really interesting to read everyone's perspective on things. And sometimes you guys sway me So, you know, there's that. But in this instance, I just feel like everyone defaults to blaming Bethany in some way, shape, or form. And I don't get that. And you know, I never really understood it really. Just something about her breathes like annoyance to the point where, you know, Bethany, whenever she's doing any type of like food type TikTok, you know, she has these like really cool like plates that actually are like, I don't know what they actually are made of. Probably like a porcelain of some sort. But nonetheless, they look like a paper plate, like the design of it, right? Um, she also has black metal forks. So I've seen 2 different videos where she's had to stop what she's doing to point out beforehand, this is not a paper plate, because 9 times out of 10, people are just watching her video sometimes to point out some like weird imperfection, which she doesn't care about. She shows up on camera like a normal human being. It's not like she's trying to showboat for us. Half the videos she does them in her closet. So it's not like she's like trying to act like, if anything, she comes off more relatable on TikTok. So I don't know. I'm just saying. But nonetheless, you know, she can't really make any move without getting like pitchforked. So now that she's spearheading this whole reality reckoning conversation and has done this interview with Rachel, you know, everyone's just not pleased. And like I said in yesterday's episode, I feel like people have been going through a really bad breakup with Bethany. Like they used to be real in deep with her, and then she did this, and now it's just enough's enough. We like enough, Bethany. Enough. But the point is, I really wish people would see it more from the others. Like, I don't want to say see it the way I'm seeing it because that's forceful and that's not the way I would ever intend to be. But I wish maybe see it from a different perspective or see it from the angle of, look, Rachel saw an opportunity. Rachel, first of all, she had no choice but to go work on herself because everything kind of caved in on her in a short amount of time, mind you. It wasn't like this played out over a whole season slowly but surely. It exploded and it continued to explode. And then 2 weeks later, they filmed the reunion. And then it was just like, so she had no choice but to go away and figure something out. But in the meantime, when she's coming out of that fog, right, then hold on. Here we have Bethany on TikTok talking about Rachel, not in a negative way. The Bethany Frankel is not throwing me in the garbage can. Hello, get her on the phone. So, of course, her people reach out to Bethany because of the TikTok and how Bethany was starting to discuss this slowly but surely. And then she brought up Rachel's situation. And here we are. Then Bethany flies to Arizona to accommodate Rachel because Rachel wasn't comfortable flying somewhere that she might possibly be like ambushed or spotted. So Bethany flies out to her and gives her a big platform to speak on. So we already know all this. So then in that same interview at some point, and I discussed this as well because Lala kind of, you know, poked fun at it when Bethany said her podcast was #1 worldwide or whatever. And she said, thank you to the #1 worldwide podcast for mentioning Send It to Daryl, and then posted a link. Well, she was on her Give Them Lala podcast, and she also had her own viewpoint. And she said, look, I think Rachel is entitled to share her story. She has that right. She went on the best platform in the sense of like how big it is. And the only thing that Lala kind of pointed out was that more so on the Bethany side of things, she pointed out, you know, Bethany exploited Rachel essentially by having her on the podcast. And isn't that essentially the same thing that she's coming after Bravo and NBC Universal for doing? And this is where I was like, no. Sorry. And I have no hate for Lala. If anything, I've grown to love that girl. I love the bite in her, and I love the maturity that she's displayed over the last couple of years. But in this instance, we've got to keep it 100, Lala. If we want to say exploiting, that's like, we can't just be throwing that term around like everyone was throwing gaslight or gaslit around, like it was like half the time wasn't even working with the situation, but people just loved using it. So now I guess exploiting is going to be the next term that everyone just throws around for things. But nonetheless, if we want to go into exploiting, how about, and I said this on my TikTok, and again, no hate towards Lala, none. But when we want to talk about exploiting, you exploited your friend's heartbreak that was playing out in the media on a national reality TV show by then further capitalizing off something that Rachel did that pissed you off, which then set you off to make up a soundbite that you then turned into merch that then turned into a down payment on your Palm Springs home that coincidentally is right next door to Sheena's. So no hate, congrats, make that money, secure your bag. But if we're going to say people are exploiting people, let's scale that back a little bit, because a lot of people benefited from Ariana's heartbreak here. It wasn't just Ariana. So I think the point is that like, that is where I'm starting to like, how is this Bethany's fault now? Like, she's not a network. She's not this big TV exec. You know what I mean? She came from this world. So it makes sense. I don't feel like she exploited Rachel. Rachel invited herself on the couch. I don't see how that's like, then Rachel exploited herself. But also, Rachel's not stupid. She made a lot of stupid decisions, yes. But I'm not fooled by this, like, oh, I don't know. You knew how to get yourself on the show. You figured out how to maneuver yourself through that cast in order to stay on the show. And then finally, you made decisions that, yes, I agree. The producers did not force her to have an affair with Tom. They did not force her to do anything like that. So that was on her own. And again, she has to eat that. She has to. So that's fine. But she's got to somehow now capitalize off this, because clearly she didn't capitalize off the scandal of it all, which, you know, I don't want to say like that's not fair, but it kind of isn't in the scheme of things. If this was real life, then yeah, whatever, you don't get to make out. But in the scheme of things, I'm not saying she should be rewarded, but if Tom's being rewarded by like by having such a relationship with producers where he can tell them to leave something out and they actually leave it out, then give her a raise. Give Rachel a raise too while you're at it. Make it fair. They're employees. This is a job. So it's like, you know, she kind of helped y'all a little bit. She saved your show. So not for nothing, the girl did some messed up things, but life will move on. Ariana will move on. Everyone on the cast is seemingly moving on. And I can guarantee you they're all going to be in a much friendlier place with Tom by the end of season 11. So we've got to look at this from a different lens now. Like, she's going to have to focus on herself. So of course, this is the best avenue for her to take. Go on Bethany's podcast, tell your story, and then start to turn that narrative around slowly but surely. Nonetheless, so Lala does, you know, her thing on the Give Them Lala podcast. She talks about her bit, gives her point of view. And then lo and behold, we have Stassi come out and validate Rachel, because Rachel explained when the cameras picked back up and she had said to Tom on camera, "Why did you film me without my permission?" And he said to her, "Oh, it was because I wanted to show you how beautiful you looked." Right? Then the cameras go down and then he goes off on Rachel about, "Why did you bring that up on camera? Like, that's going to make me look bad." And then he goes to the producers and essentially is like, "You like better not put that in there, and like basically like gets his way, right? And Stassi validated that by saying, yes, that's very true. That happened all the time when Stassi was on the show. Countless times, countless times, like ridiculous amounts of times that they would cover for the guys on the show, but at the expense of the women. So she's validated parts of Rachel's claims. Kristen last week came out and validated Rachel's claims around Rachel saying, you know, James has some behavioral issues in that department, because when we start bringing up like the DV claims that Kristen was initially starting to kind of chat about, if you guys remember, and then all of a sudden slowly it stopped. Rachel also claimed that, you know, Kristen isn't talking about that anymore because Bravo gave her the spinoff. So Kristen's come out to validate the part about the James stuff, but not going into too much more detail, but then saying that the spinoff is not because they wanted her to stop talking about it. Now, my view is like, take what you want from that part of it, but would she have said that that was the case if it was true? Like, honestly, like, oh, yes. And that's true too. Bravo gave me a spinoff, so I would stop talking about James and the behavioral DV allegations that I was starting to talk about. Absolutely. No, they're like, no. So like, take what you want from it. But yeah, so to me, it's like, it can't all be wrong. There's definitely things going on that are, there's things happening behind the scenes that are just not right in the scheme of things. And you know, a lot of people would say, let's see what season 11 brings, because ultimately, like, if they were going to be on the chopping block the entire show before this whole scandal exploded or whatever, then that's a lot of pressure for season 11. And if you're not getting Rachel back, then that means it leaves it up to Tom. And it seems like they've pretty much made up with him for the most part. So I don't know. I'm just saying we'll wait for the trailer to drop, and we'll go back to our files, because everyone pretty much has a file of every single day they filmed season 11. So I'm sure we can backtrack and figure out dates and all that stuff for, you know, different events and things. But nonetheless, I ultimately just want everyone to know that, like, I'm standing on my opinion. I love you guys, even if we don't agree on this one. It's okay. But at the end of the day, look, we'll just keep watching and seeing what comes next. We still don't know probably even a third of what's going on behind the scenes with this whole thing. But I will say in closing, going back to what I said earlier about the third letter going out, I really wish at this point we could just solidify what it is that they want out of this whole thing, because I know that they want more people to be able to speak out about it, and maybe that's going to be a more challenging situation because of people's like non-disclosure agreements or whatnot. But I don't foresee them, because the letter's like pushing them to let these people out of their current NDA so that they can speak about their experience. And more importantly, this one in particular, this letter is coming for the production company that does Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Vanderpump Rules. So is that coincidental? I'm just saying, I don't know. But anyways, let me know your thoughts, guys, as always. And before I head on out of this episode, I just want to remind you that we have a new podcast episode Monday through Friday. And also, if you're not following me on TikTok, that's where I go first for all my Bravo Celebrity news updates and recaps. So you should be following me on there. Also follow me on Instagram. I show a little bit more of my personal stuff, but I also have the tea on there. Follow me on Threads. If you're on Threads, I'm on Threads. Follow me there. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, get subscribed and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when I upload there. And guys, if you could just do me a favor, and if you liked this episode and you love my podcast, if you could give me a 5-star review, that would be amazing. And you can leave that review wherever it is that you listen to this podcast. And friendly reminder, the video version of this podcast is available on YouTube and Spotify, and the audio version is available everywhere else you get your podcasts. Yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys today. But anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday evening. It's hump day. We're pretty much over the hump. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.